Good morning. Welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Betty. And did you catch the snow falling everywhere? Well, yeah, we can see it. It wasn't as bad as they actually predicted, though. Right?
So we got away. Well, I can see snow at my back, but I can't tell how bad it is because it's on top of the other snow that was there. Still snowing though.
Yeah. Is it? Okay. I can't see that.
No.
My window, I can't see it light enough to see whether it's snowing or not. Right, on my side. All right. Okay. So, all right. Welcome everybody. So, Mark Carney gave a speech a couple of days ago to the World Economic Forum. It was quite a speech.
Yes, it was the surprising to me. I heard the speech. I liked the speech. I thought it was a great speech, but I had no idea what kind of an effect it had. I guess it really had a profound effect. All kinds of people have said that it was a terrific speech. It was down to earth. It was speaking truth to power and all these other things. And then he cut to the quick and he just told it like it was. And what the anticipation of world politics is going to be like, or geopolitical economies and so on. He put out a stark. Okay, go ahead.
And starting a story with a Czech dissident, Václav Havel, from 1978, when he wrote The Power of the Powerless. And he was talking about every morning a shopkeeper placed a sign in the window saying, "Workers of the world unite." He didn't believe in it, and no one around the place did. No one in Czechoslovakia did. But he placed a sign anyway to avoid trouble, signaling compliance and getting along. And because every shopkeeper in the street did exactly the same thing, the system persisted.
Yes, basically, we've heard this before. A much darker version of the story is when the German minister said that, well, when they came for the communists, I said nothing. When they came for the Catholics, I said nothing. When they came for the Jews, I said nothing. And then they came for me, and no one was left to say anything. And so that is a much darker version of the same thing, basically. What he is saying now is that we can't go along. We can't say, well, the old order is working anymore. It's not like, do we align with the Americans? Do we align with the Chinese? This is basically what he's saying, that there are two major powers, major economic powers fighting for dominance out there. And they are victimizing the middle powers in doing so. As we can see here ourselves, how the United States has been treating us lately. Hammering us with tariffs and all other things, no negotiations, just tell you what is going to happen and that kind of thing. And China hasn't been nice to us either. I mean, they would do the same thing to us, given half a chance.
And it's like, what you've got to do is negotiate one deal at a time, one deal for one thing, and move on to the next thing.
Well, what Carney is talking about here, he's appealing to all the other middle powers, pretty much the rest of the world. And even though the EU is a bloc of nations, it's a bloc of middle power nations, basically. Germany, Britain, Spain, those kind of things, G7 type countries. So what he's doing is appealing to them. Look, together we can stand. Like, let's find commonality in some area between us. And if we can't find commonality, maybe we can find commonality somewhere else. But in order to play the hegemon, to try to get on one side or the other of the economic war that's going on between China and the United States, will do us no good. Will leave us out. Putting up barriers and trade barriers and that kind of thing will not help the middle powers. So we have to work together as middle powers and do the best we can with the big powers. And he mentioned Remember the other day I mentioned Thucydides's quote about the powerful nations will do what they can, and the weak must suffer what they must. Will suffer. Well, he used that. He used that in his speech. He used that in his speech, and that quote's been coming up quite a few times over the last year. I've seen it over and over again, and that's why I used it the other day. I had no idea that Carney himself had used it. You know, he must have been listening to the show.
Well, basically, he's saying the bargain no longer works. We're in the midst of rapture, not transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration of weapons, tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercions, supply chain as vulnerabilities to be exploited. And who can deny any of that? Who can deny any of that?
Well, none of it can be denied.
And this is not a liberal speech. This is a speech about pure economics.
Yes, and so anyway, he makes the thing that the comment that this was coming anyway, that we had believed ourselves to be in a situation where there was a rules-based order. But we always knew that the powerful nations would get it their way, that the rules wouldn't apply to them. But nevertheless, we went along because there was a sort of a framework of rules that kept us going. And we knew that they were not equally applied, that the powerful nations would get more, the rules would not be equally applied. But we went along with it the whole way, all the time. And here he says, we knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically, and we knew the international law applied with varied vigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful, and American hegemony in particular help provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. That's gone now, or will be going.
And question, he's saying, one of the questions he's also saying for middle powers like Canada is not whether to adapt to the new reality, but how quickly, effectively that you can do so.
Yes. Now, of course, Donald Trump, I don't think he even understood the speech, to tell you the truth. He took offense of it and said that Canada owes the United States a lot, and that the reason why Canada exists at all is because of the United States. And he got all hissy-fitty about it.
Historically, that's untrue.
All Carney was doing was telling the truth. And if Trump had the intelligence to listen to what he say, he may have learned a few things himself, and he probably would not deny what Carney is saying, because obviously the United States is taking a different road now. It sees that it has been losing the globalization that it started, it fashioned. The globalization and the free trade thing, the extreme connectivity of the global system has worked against the United States right now. It hasn't done them as much good as, say, China. So the sudden reversal on it, you can understand that. But what cannot be understood is the attack of their own allies. Instead of taking their own allies like Europe, North America, and say to them, look, you better get your defenses up and going. We can't afford much anymore. You got to do it yourself. We'll help you out with that, but get going, start moving on it, or we're moving out. And a few other things they could have brought in, and they could have used this as a team. You know, they could have we could have been like team free world, basically. But what Trump did instead is he started attacking us. He started attacking Europe, his ally. He started attacking Canada, his ally. He started attacking Australia, his ally.
Well, and he's also
more money from them.
Yeah, and he's also saying Canada was amongst the first to hear the wake-up call, and obviously because of how close we are, how closely tied our economy was to that of the United States. All right, so leading us to fundamentally shift our strategic posture, and that we've seen various moves over the last year in relation to this.
Well, when you're getting 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum because of fentanyl, and there's hardly any fentanyl going across the border, you know that it's a lie.
Yeah.
And it's a power play.
Yeah. And that then basically says, okay, we'll put our steel elsewhere. You know, our products are going elsewhere.
Yeah. So Carney's made it very, very clear. And I think really, now I heard one comment saying, is this an anti-American comment? Is this anti-American? Because he's saying, well, that's it. We can't really depend on the United States anymore. They were the ones we could do, but we can't now. We have to look elsewhere. We have to do for ourselves. We can't count on the United States anymore. Is it anti-American? And one reporter asked, I think it was Gavin Newsom. I think he asked him, is this an anti-American comment? And I can't remember what Gavin Newsom said about it, but it would surprise me that anyone might think it was an anti-American comment. It surprised me. It's nothing to do with anti-American at all. It's more like a realistic reality check.
Yeah, exactly. And in that regard, we're calibrating our relationship so the depth reflects our values. This is Carney. And we're prioritizing broad engagement to maximize our influence, given the fluidity of the world at the moment, the risks of this poses, and the stakes for what comes next. So he's been very clear about how Canada needs to branch out and how Canada is moving in new directions. And he's basically,
one of the things
and he's saying that he's actually saying to the rest of the world, you must do so likewise.
Yes, but he's also put in a bit of an advertisement for Canada there. We're an energy superpower. We have all kinds of minerals. We got everything. We got this, that. We've got an educated society, and we have economic clout. So come on over and start investing and do some work with us. That was a spin he put on the end of it there. It was really just an advertisement. We are a great place to invest. Now, the other parts though is like he was a stark contract. One of the things, of course, Donald Trump wasn't very happy with the speech at all, but he was in stark contract with Donald Trump because Donald Trump came across very badly. I don't know if you've listened to what he was saying at Davos and that. He was rambling and he mixed up Iceland with Greenland over and over again. Kept talking about Iceland and Greenland, and so much so that Carolyn Levitt had to rush to the podium in the States and said, no, he was just describing it as an icy land. It was ice in a land, icy land. He was talking about Greenland, but describing it as an ice land, which was not the case at all. Trump looked tired. He was slurring his speeches. I think the guy is really tired and overworked. I don't know what he does, but he looks very, very tired in his speeches and his just rambling on and on. I can't understand him sometimes.
Yeah, some of it might well be jet lag, of course.
Jet lag could be just the guy could be just really tired. I mean, he's over 80 years old, isn't he?
Well, 79, I think, but he is currently the oldest president in history.
Oh, even older than Joe Biden?
Yes. At the current moment, he's older than Biden. Biden was at his last day in presidency. Yes.
Oh boy.
Right. That happened sometime mid-year. Right. He is
obviously affected.
He's a few months younger than Biden, but But anyway, you see, flying to Davos in Switzerland, that's a long flight. That's 6 hours at least, and the drive in there. So maybe he didn't take as much rest as he needed to reacclimatize himself to the European day, because that 6 hour change. When I fly internationally, I adjust myself in the first day. But as I get older, I doubt that I can do that in the same way as I used to when I was young.
Yeah, well, whatever reason, his speeches are rambling. And what bothers me is he's slurring a lot. He's got a lot of slurs going on in his speech, which I never, which I find is new in the last half year. And he looks tired. He doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes. And I'm wondering. And plus, this whole Greenland thing is taking a complete reversal, because now he's not going to go and put troops there. He's going to put troops there, but he's not going to go there and take it. He said they have accommodation all set up. He's no longer insisting that the United States own it. He is crowing some sort of victory as they're allowed to put up bases here and there, but they always were. They had all kinds. They had 10,000 troops there at one time.
But
and
Trump
no longer
done the
insisting that he has to annex it. He's changed his tune. And that partly because he cannot lose the support of the few Republicans that make the difference in the Congress and the Senate. He's won both of those areas, but right now he's scaring the Republicans. He's got Republicans that will say they will impeach him. They will enjoin the Democrats to impeach him if he starts to go after Greenland.
Yeah.
And we know just recently that the Senate had a private vote on their own, which was no effect, but insisted that Canada and the United States continue with the USMCA agreement, the NAFTA, and that the tariffs should be lifted off of Canada. And they did the same thing for Mexico. Both, although those votes had no teeth, it was a strong indication to Trump that there are members of his own party that will not fall into line. Most will, but not all. And because the margins there are so small, he needs everybody on side. The last thing he needs is Republicans to start going after impeachment with him or start to disagree with him. We already have that kind of resistance. So there could be a number of different reasons why he's changed his mind. One of the reasons was the stock market was starting to crash. Not crash, but it was going down significantly. Gold and all that were being picked up, and the Europeans had the trade bazooka they could use against the United States. And that would disrupt the markets. And the last thing Trump wants is the markets to be disrupted before the midterms.
So Mike makes this point that if Biden had said Iceland 4 times instead of Greenland, it would have been a call to, there would have been a call to resign by the Republicans. Absolutely.
Yes, there should be. I mean, and the fact that Levitt's out there, like, telling everybody he didn't make a mistake at all. He was just describing the land as a land of ice. You know, oh God, I don't know.
Yeah, probably as he was flying over there, somebody pointed out Iceland to him.
But that's the kind of lies. That's the kind of lies they're willing to do. Like Levitt gets on and just completely lies. He didn't say, "Oh, he's tired," or he's just a misspeak. He just misspoke. A lot of people do that. I do that. I've called Greenland Iceland on this show a couple times, and I make mistakes like that all the time, so they're easily excused. But instead of saying, "Oh, well, he's tired," or he's just misspoke there a couple of times, because he regards the land as a big hunk of ice, and which he has described it as. And no, they lie. They lie. They say, "Oh no, that's what he meant. He was describing it. He didn't say it was Iceland. He was saying it was Iceland, as if land of ice. That's what he meant." So she is willing to say any lie. I mean, pathetic lies. You gotta wonder what's going on down there.
I'm not seeing any snow continuing out there, by the way, at the moment. But it might be just where I am.
No more flakes here either.
Mm.
It was just a few minutes ago. So when we started, there was
Yeah.
flakes coming down.
Maybe
But
you're seeing it
apparently
blowing
it
around.
stopped.
Yeah, maybe you were seeing some wind blowing some around.
Yeah.
All right.
No, they were coming down gently from the sky, but there might be just the last of it. I don't know.
Any further thoughts on Davos?
Only that the world has finally learned a lesson that you're not going to get anywhere with the American administration run by Trump if you give in to him. If you get into him, he takes more. If you give in to him, he bullies you more. They have finally realized that it's going to hurt. They're going to have to fight back. It's going to hurt, but they're going to have to fight. That's what China did. That's what China when Trump said put 145% tariff on their goods and said, now China has to phone me. Xi Jinping has to phone me, and when he phones me, we'll deal with this. Well, Xi Jinping didn't phone, did he?
No.
And he kept saying, I don't think don't think for a moment that I feel that it's a sign of weakness if he phones me, so he better phone me. And he didn't phone, did he? Then Trump went scrambling and sent his boy over to Switzerland. And we predicted it here on this show, by the way. I remember we say some neutral place, they'll concoct some meeting and get it sorted out, which they did. But what happened there? Trump lost that round, and he lost the next attempt at it because China stood its ground and was willing to fight it to the end, and Trump was not willing to fight it to the end. When everybody stands up to Trump, then his bullying doesn't work. But you have to accept the fact that if you're going to stand up to him, you had better be prepared to stand up to him and take the lumps. And you have to make sure that he knows that you're going to take the lumps, even if you're in the weaker position. As he might get, if he thinks he's going to get hurt, he won't fight you.
Yeah, and economically, I think that's what I think the lesson has become, and we've now learned it. Or maybe Carney has now learned it. I'm not sure the rest of the world has learned it, but maybe that's the change of Canadian American relationships.
I heard also that the American staffers like Ludnick and Besant didn't look too good in Davos. Mm-hmm. They kind of were jeered, and I heard about this, but I haven't really been able to confirm it.
Yeah, I've not seen anything in relation to that.
These guys, they've walked out on them when they were like a speech, Ludnick's speech, slamming Europe at Davos leads to Lagarde walking out on him and things of that kind. So they didn't look too good. I'm going to look into that a little bit more, probably for tomorrow. Yeah. But these guys that were so feared before, Ludnick and Besant and stuff like that, they're no longer feared anymore. Nobody's listening to them anymore. I mean, if they're walking out on them as they're making a speech, then that tells you nobody's interested in what you think. Before they were afraid, they were going to sit there and be polite, but they're not now. They're just walking around.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Guns. One thing we didn't get to yesterday, guns is the leading cause of child death in America.
Yeah, the reason why I put that there is I just came across, I was talking to a friend of mine about, public health and all kinds of other things. Then it occurred to me, did I hear that statistic right once upon a time? Was firearms deaths the number one leading killer of children in the United States? The number one killer, non-disease type killer of kids in the United States. It turns out to be the number one killer of kids, all in all, of all causes.
Yeah, 4450 kids under 19 died in 2023 of gunshot wounds, and 3,889 kids died in car crashes. 2,026 died from poisoning. 1,782 died from cancer. Oh, that's horrific. And 1,218 died from suffocation. So that's the leading cause of death in all cases for kids. Yeah.
So if you compare that to Canadians, it's car accidents, but guns don't factor into it much at all in Canada. So you have to ask yourself why. Why? And of course, it's the prevalence of guns everywhere. And what Charlie Kirk said, so ironically, is that it's better to have all these guns and have the odd tragedy happen, the odd shooting happen. I mean, that's what we have to. That's the cost of having guns. And he himself was shot, and the children of the United States are dying by the thousands of gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
And when you compare it to a comparable nation like Canada, car accidents are the thing that kills most, and drowning and other things like that. But guns don't even factor into it very much at all.
Yeah. Well, the irony, of course, is that when the Second Amendment was written, it was written of a land that was largely rural in nature. There were a few larger cities like New York, like Philadelphia, that were 50,000 in size, approximately, which when you consider, New York is 12 million in size today, the 50,000 is nothing, right? So there were a few larger cities like that, but the vast majority of the US population was living rurally. And the reason for the Second Amendment is because they were living in dangerous places, like where the Native Americans were attacking their farms, etc.
Yes, and the French and brigands of any kind.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why they kept some historians insist that one of the reasons why they insisted on having those guns is because in the southern United States they were afraid of slave revolts, and they had to put down numbers of slave revolts, and they did that and they were successful in putting them down largely because they had access to guns.
Yeah, you see, that's a fair comment. But out in the West, of course, the biggest challenges was the Native Americans.
Well, this was 1776, and the frontier was very close to the coast right now. If you look at it, it was pretty much just up to Appalachia. And then after the British ceded much more territory to the colonies than was required by the treaty, because they felt that the United States would buy a lot of industrial goods from Britain. Yeah, and that's what I was really surprised by that when I looked at the treaties. They say, okay, we're going to give them this much more land because we want them to populate it, and if they do populate it, they'll have to buy their industrial goods from us, which is exactly what happened. And I think it was even built into the treaty that the United States had to buy X amount of stuff from Britain for 75 years.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, part of that treaty was the cotton from the southern states heading to Lancashire. And Lancashire.
No, not at that time. No, not at that time.
Was it not part of that? Okay, so that was
not at that time. But the industrial goods, yeah. Of course, the cotton from southern United States was a big deal for the industrial Midlands in or northern.
Well, that's one of the, the U.S. trade of bringing cotton in and taking industrial products out was one of the reasons for the growth of Liverpool and Merseyside ports in Britain.
Yes, of course, and Bristol before that. So they, but basically speaking, the Industrial Revolution. But anyway, aside from all that, there are too many guns in the United States, and we're looking at the AR-15. I was looking at the AR-15 the other day. It has a bullet. It has a bullet that's weighted in the back, and it has a velocity, an incredible velocity. It can go like 7 football fields in a second or something like that. Normally, if you shot it level, the gravity will pull it down after 600 yards, but the velocity is incredible. And when the bullet hits its target, the bullet then tumbles. In other words, it doesn't go through the target; it begins to tumble, and that's because of because of the relatively low spiral rate, but mostly because of the construction of the bullet. It's weighted more in the back than the front.
Yeah,
and so it does incredible amount of damage. Now, why do you need that to defend yourself? I'm asking you that. Why do you need an AR-15 that shoots bullets? In other words, if you are defending or somebody comes to your back door and you feel you have to shoot them, so we start shooting an AR-15, that bullet is zinging around at incredible speeds, and if it does hit somebody, it's going to tear them apart. You might not get the bad guy, So why do you need that? It's insane. You might want to have a shotgun by the back door for protection, but why would you need an AR-15?
One of the things to note in this is that it says LGBTQ youth are more likely to suffer suicide. They're 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers, according to the Trevor Project. What were you saying?
Yeah, a big amount of a significant amount of the youth death here is suicide. And we find that it's much higher in Black communities than it is in white.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of accidental shootings, of course, using dad's gun, whatever, finding it, using it. But there is a lot of suicides, and there are more suicides. I wasn't surprised to find out there was more suicides in the Black community.
Again, there's a significant difference in Canada to the United States. You could not accidentally come across dad's gun in Canada, even if dad owned a gun, because dad's gun would be locked away in a safe.
And it should be. And if the kid got it out, if it wasn't locked up in a safe place and the kid got it and shot himself or someone else, then dad's in big trouble.
Yes.
But not in the States. You could have it in the drawer beside your bed.
Yeah, exactly. And the kids, oh, what's this? Bang,
Yeah, so anytime I've met an American that's a big gun enthusiast, I just tell them, why do you think you need a gun? And it always is the same thing. I need it for safety. It's insurance for me, safety insurance.
Yeah.
It was always the answer. And I says, well, I'm older than you. I've been in a lot more places than you, and I've never owned a gun. I haven't got a gun in my car. No one I know owns a gun and has it in the car, and yet you have to drive around with a gun in your car. Why?
There's only one reason
afraid. Are you that afraid of nothing?
There's only one reason I would own a gun, Dave.
What's that?
And that was because I became, if I became interested in going to the shooting range and shooting, target shooting.
Yeah, I like that too myself.
I did. I've done that. I've enjoyed doing that on on loaned guns. It's nice. I'm pretty good at it, but I've never gotten into it. Right? It's about the only time I've ever used a gun.
Well, we're not talking about that, are we? Though
we're talking about
that's the difference between Canada and the United States. You might enjoy target shooting. You might enjoy hunting. Hunting is fair. I mean, every once in a while, a hunting rifle will get used in a murder too. So no one is completely safe from firearms. But if you got an AR-15 and a couple pistols around, somebody's going to get hurt. In the United States, the number one cause of death among children is guns.
Yeah,
that's devastating.
It's horrific, and any child death. And we talked about the 1,782 people kids died from cancer. That's horrific. That's tragic. It really is. But probably not one of those kids could have been saved, because childhood cancer is usually pretty devastating.
Well, preventable death is get your gun away from your kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your gun and lock it up somewhere.
as what I was saying there is those 1,782 who died from cancer. There's nothing you could have done. It hurts families like hell, but that's nothing compared to the 4,450 who died with guns. Yeah.
Yes.
Every one of those was savable.
How many of those are preventable? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
4,450 children die every year in the United States for a gun, compared to Canada, where the accidental death, the preventable death, is car accidents.
Yeah. And again, car accidents can be prevented, but again, we use a car so much that, in fact, car crashes are statistically going to occur, right?
Yeah, but they're more and more safe every year, and it's usually because people have made a mistake, either accidentally or there might be too. Like I would imagine that I bet you some kids die in car accidents because their parents don't put them in seatbelts properly and that kind of thing. But aside from all of that, the whole point of this article, right? The whole point of it was that 4,450 children die in the United States from guns. And since Canada is about 1/10 the population, you don't find 400 kids die in Canada, do you?
From gunshot.
You don't find any.
It's probably less than 10.
Yeah, it's very small. So what's wrong? Yeah. What's wrong here?
It's gun culture. And it's the fact that whilst they have the guns in the house, they're not forced to lock them up.
Or be trained in them. And that's the biggest problem I find. Okay, you have the Second Amendment, but you should put a condition on that everybody has to go to a course and be trained on that firearm. How to unload it, how to fix it, how to clean it, how to use it, how to look for if you do pull it out, how not to shoot it by accident. There was a course. I remember seeing a course being advertised in Florida where the police chief comes up and he starts with saying the Second Amendment is the greatest thing in the world. And, the Second Amendment is our right and all that. And then he goes on to say that, start to say that we have a course here that everybody should take on gun. And when he went to describe it, he described it exactly what I just described, where you learn how to use it and you learn how not to make a mistake, and the common mistakes people make when they have their own gun and shoot members of their own family or somebody that's innocent.
Yeah, but let's put it another way. If that Second Amendment was about the use of a new invention, the motor car, and how everybody's got the right to use a motor car in America, that wouldn't alleviate the need to get licensing once the numbers of cars grew in that population.
Yeah. Anyway, what else we got there?
Yeah. Well, we're moving on. Okay. Code of conduct complaint gets the code of conduct complainant gets a $4,000 bill for Niagara Falls.
Yeah, this is I don't know. They Jordy Burdette complained about city council. He put a complaint in that city council would not allow him to speak in September and again in October. They refused to have him come in and speak. He thinks he had the right to it, so he put in a complaint against the council as a whole. But it's all 9 members, but it was one issuing. So he paid a $500 fine for a charge for that not going through, and but then they decided, well, he actually put his levied this against all 9 of them, so that means 9 different investigations. So that should be $4,000.
And the other thing is, this follows what they're basically saying here is. This follows a long pattern where Burdette has filed numerous complaints to the Integrity Commissioner over the past several years, and the city has been repeatedly stated that these filings have cost the taxpayers a lot of money, well into 6 figures, and when all accumulated. And that is why they have levied a $4,000 bill on him for the complaints. Is that right? That's another question.
I'm not so sure. When the council voted, and I just missed it completely. I forgot about the council meeting, but apparently they decided, well, the fine should have been $4,000. He's already paid $500. If he's going after all 9 members of council, that's $4,500, and he's paid $500. So now they want the rest of the money, $4,000 worth.
Yeah.
And so the council has voted to charge him that, save one person, Lori Lococo. Lori Lococo was not in agreement with her, and she probably has her reasons for it. But I understand why they're going after him, because he is disrupting council and costing the taxpayer a lot of money with these complaints. And so as a measure to stop him or actually make him think twice before he brings up another complaint, is they want to charge him $4,000. But is it the right move to make? The city themselves charged him the $500, and that was all supposed to be said and done. But there was some sort of filing error, which opened the door for them to charge him another $4,000. Now, everybody in council probably is sick of Jody Burdett, so they went ahead and said, "Oh yeah, okay, charge him." And people will shut up. But I get that. But he has his right. No, and we want to know why.
Yeah, I get that the city council is sick of Burdett and his complaints, and but again, he has the right to complain if he feels it's wrong. Now, there is another possibility, is that maybe the city should say no more complaining, or I'm not in favor of fining. I know they're basically saying here it's cost $177,000. I'm not in favor of a $4,000 fine. I would have said that if you were talking about a fine, $1,000 max to my mind.
I don't know. I think they probably should have some sort of preview, that anyone with a complaint can go to with their complaint, and that preview person can tell them, "Look, this is not going to go. This not going. It might sound right to you. It might sound right to many, but it's not going to go. It doesn't meet the criteria, and what you're going to do is waste a lot more taxpayers' money." Now, I can understand why Jody Burdett's doing what he's doing. He sees inconsistencies with Mike Strange. He sees other things going on there, but it's costing us. It's costing us a lot of money. I think probably he'd be better off. Well, he does. He does have a kind of a website, or I think, whatever. But I don't know. I think sometimes some of his stuff is justified. I think it's maybe does not meet the criteria for the integrity commissioner. But do remember they went after and did get Carolyn Iannone on one.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and she lost a lot of money. She lost a lot of income due to the complaint.
Yes. And that complaint was brought up from the mayor, wasn't it? Was the mayor brought towards her?
I'm not sure who brought that one. I don't recall who brought that one up. You're possibly right.
And that was her speaking out of turn.
Yeah.
On a radio show or something. And with information that was privy to her.
Yeah.
So we see so you can say, well, is the integrity committee doing anything? Well, they did do something against Carolyn Iannone. That was controversial, but that cost us a lot of money too. Was it frivolous? Was it really required? The complaint did go through.
I have to actually question with the Carolyn Iannone one was, we all knew that there was an argument between Ms. Iannone and the mayor, and that argument should not have been allowed to spill into an integrity commission complaint.
I'm not so sure. I can't remember the details of it. At first I thought, do we really have to do this? But anyway, the integrity commissioner came in and he found on the side of whoever was the complainant. And in this particular case, though, Jody Burnett is trying pretty hard. He's bringing up some important issues, but they just do not have the weight to meet that criteria. And I don't know if it's because the integrity commissioner is lazy. The integrity commission just does not want to rock the boat, or doesn't meet the criteria that the integrity commissioner requires. And now it doesn't look that way, because he shows quite clearly the amount of time he's put on it, and he quite clearly shows how much he has to do to sort through this. Jody Burnett evidently dropped bundles of papers on him, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this takes time, and his time is very valuable. And so, although you want to celebrate a guy like Jody Burnett for bringing up things like this, at the same time, you want to counsel him and saying, pick your battles, man. You're not going to win here, and you're going to cost the taxpayer a lot of money.
And in my mind, it's about striking the right balance between deterring frivolous complaints and protecting our residents' right to hold elected officials accountable. One of the things we don't have is a right of recall for our councillors. It would be nice if we did. And I'm curious about how this is going to play out, especially since one of the issues that you and I talk about quite a lot is about the cost of these sorts of things. And we're very concerned about the city budget, and 177 grand off the city budget to investigate complaints. Although there's money put aside for complaints, it's still a lot of money to actually for the city to be wasting in not its normal role of business, if you know what I mean.
Yes. So I don't know. I would just go back to Jody. I kind of appreciate his effort. He is engaging himself in the city. And some of his complaints do have some merit to them, but not enough weight behind them to hit that threshold that's required. Yeah. And I would say for him, again, pick your battles and prepare your complaint a little bit better. According to the integrity commissioner, it sounds like frivolous and vexatious. I don't think it sounds frivolous and vexatious in my mind. It doesn't. I do see that it is amateurish and not well-founded. But at the same time, we don't want to scare people off from actually submitting an honest-to-God complaint. Yeah. $500 price tag of these complaints is to deter frivolous things, because if it doesn't cost you much, if you and five other people throw in $20 each, if it's $200 like it was before, and every week you can come up with a new one, and each one of those would cost taxpayers a lot of money. So the idea of putting in $500 is try to filter out some of the ones that are less considered.
Okay, and hey, I'm going to say one more thing. We know Jody Burnett's going to be standing in the next election. You can't put $4,000 against your election budget.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if this is justified. Like, the council has voted it. It may not be a justifiable expense. As a matter of fact, Lori Lococo was against it. The one sole council that was against it when I read it before I even saw that, I was against it too. I would just issue a stern warning to him. Look, what you are doing is eating up a lot of city resources and taxpayers' money with complaints that do not measure up to the threshold required, and that you will be fined or whatever, or and unless you get this right or something like that. But hit the guy $4,000 for actually involving himself in city politics, even as wrong as he might be doing it, is kind of the wrong way to go. That kind of scares other people away from bringing up issues that they might think have merit.
Yep. All right. Okay. So, anything else really to be said on that?
No. No. But we seem to have a history in this city for a lot of complaints. So you got to ask yourself, how come?
Okay. Gary Wilkins is making the point that he believes the integrity commissioner needs to be investigated by the ombudsman. Basically, I think because what Gary is saying is he's believing that integrity commissioner is finding solely on behalf of the city and not carrying out proper investigations.
Of course, yeah, that's been my suspicion from time to time too. Is he just falling in line? But I mean, I can't say that. I've got no proof. But if complaint after complaint after complaint, and he finds nothing worthy about them, there got to be something in there that there's a reason why people put up the money to go there and complain and put up.
Yeah, there's no complaint without fire. There's a complaint because there's a fire somewhere. That's the reason why they're complaining.
I don't know. I would just say that you know where you're up against, and if you do have a legitimate complaint against the government of Niagara Falls Council or the things that they've done, cross your T's and dot your I's. Make sure that it's well done. Do not walk into a place where you're going to have to pay the $500. You still want to have the people to have the right to call in the integrity commissioner, but on the other hand, you have to do it the right way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because in fact, actually, there are. It's about doing it the right way, and sometimes the right way is just communicating to the public how bad you think, how bad certain decisions are of the city. And if you've got a website, you've got a better way to communicate than a person who doesn't have a website.
Well, I think it's the threshold. Like to make it, somebody comes running out of a building covered in blood. And then an hour later, somebody goes into that building and finds people dead, all stabbed to death. So the integrity commissioner comes along and says, well, I can't really prove that this guy killed him just because he had blood on his hands. That kind of thing. Yeah, it may have, but I can't prove it. I didn't see him stick the knife in. And who says that wasn't paint, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the integrity commissioner is basically saying, the threshold of proof is rather high.
Yeah. And it means that, it means that, let's put it this way, Dave, you're not going to the integrity commissioner with a document this big, right? With a small, tiny little document. You're going to the integrity commissioner with a document that's 80, 100, 200, 300 pages long.
Well, that's what the integrity commissioner has claimed here with Jody, that he dumped a lot of paper on him, or there was a lot of paper involved. Therefore, the expense. Anyway,
all right.
Me and Gary got to go out for lunch pretty soon. I'll have to get a hold of him.
Yeah. Okay.
Meetings today. But, okay.
All right, and the one last remaining one on here. World Cup this year, of course, and the Dutch are issuing a statement on potential boycott of the World Cup. Now, interesting that there's the Royal Dutch Football Association have shared an official statement via Secretary General Guy de Jong amid growing concerns of political situation in America under Trump. And they are one of three nations alongside Canada that will be hosting the tournament. But for a number of reasons and growing concern over the nation's ability to hold the biggest tournament in the world, they're pulling out.
I hope they don't pull out. What?
Or are they?
I no, it looks like they're threatening to. They might do it, but I think this is a bad move on their part. I think the statement that you just made may be good enough. Well, remember, a lot of the members of their team are people of color. So, and we know the ice guys are going to be all over these tournaments because who likes soccer?
It's not.
Like Hispanics love it down in Mexico, and so it could be a good place for them to make up their 3,000 a day sort of threshold that they have to meet, according to Miller.
And it's not the players that will get thrown out of the US. The players will have even the players from Iran and Haiti and places like that will all have the highest level of access to the US.
Yeah, well, right now it's very hard for those people to get in because of the travel bans on those particular countries, which is the part of the United States. They have to fix that. These are soccer players. Let them in. Plain and simple.
The players will get in, but the fans won't.
Well, yeah. Well, the fans. Well, we don't even know if the players are in. That's the whole point. They might not even issue the visas to the players because they've got this. It's a whole mess. And the Dutch team, a lot of their members are people of color too. But yeah. I would counsel against this. I would counsel against this because there are many fans in the United States. Remember, only half of them voted for Trump. So are you gonna make your point by withholding soccer entertainment that the people of the United States and Canada and Mexico have been waiting for? Do you really want to take some of the world's best players out of action?
Yeah.
And because the Dutch team has some really good players on it, some of the world's best. So you really want to remove them from the greatest soccer tournament, greatest sporting event in all the world next to the Olympics, right? Do you really want to do that?
I think this is the greatest sporting event in the world above the Olympics. I think that it today attracts more people than the Olympics attracts.
Well, it is the single most largest thing. Like it blows away the world, the sort of the World Series, and it blows away the Super Bowl. Like, I mean, those things are minor compared to the World Cup. So, and this is a world event. Soccer is all around the world and is growing in the States and North America. So I would counsel the Dutch, if they're listening, and I'm sure they are, of course, right? The Prime Minister's listening right now. Right? Don't do that. Find accommodation. Send your players in. Do the noblest of all you can. Play the sport as well as you can. Try to get beyond politics. Do the sporting event. Keep it as far away as possible from politics. Let's do something that's not politically motivated. Can we do that? Can you imagine having the Stanley Cup and Calgary is not going to go to the States to play for the Cup? Can you imagine that? Mm-hmm. No. Right.
Well, what you got to get to the next time, the only time that you're going to find a Canadian winning the Stanley Cup, ironically, is if you've got two Canadian teams in the final.
You might, but the fact of the matter is, you see what I'm talking about here. It would be preposterous. It would be preposterous for, let's say, Montreal or Calgary or any one of the other Canadian teams are in the playoffs, but they refuse to go and play the Stanley Cup in the States because they're rivals in the States, and they want to make a protest, a geopolitical protest. No, keep politics out of sports as much as you can. This is a people's thing, right? This is a people's thing. It shouldn't have politics slapped all over it. It's hard to avoid politics in anything, but this is one place where you can remove as much of it as possible. Sporting events. Leave it to the people so they can go and enjoy the sporting event. Keep politics out of it.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, when you think about it, the World Cup comes around once every 4 years. And for a player, for an individual player, this might be their one and only chance on the world scene.
Yes. Yes. Think of the player as well. Think of the player. Think of the fans. You know what? Squabble about anything you want, anytime you want. But let's make it very clear that this is a people's event, that people of all political stripes go and watch soccer. People of all religious stripes, political stripes, color stripes, ethnic stripes, whatever you like, they all go and watch soccer because they like the game. They enjoy the game. Do not take that away from the people. Do not take that away from people for petty political reasons.
Yeah, it's the biggest game in the world. It's played on street corners in in unbelievable places. You probably saw kids kicking a ball around in Libya when you were there.
And, yes, and
every African country you've ever been to, there's kids kicking a ball around on the streets, aren't there?
Yeah. There's kids will play at any place you want. Like they, when I was in India, I saw a lot of cricket being played.
Oh yeah.
But they also play soccer
on every street. Yeah, they're playing cricket on every street corner in India. Yeah.
Well, they when I was there, they said that India has two religions, and the biggest one is soccer, or well, they call it football, and the second biggest is Hinduism.
No, you mean cricket. You mean cricket.
Cricket, pardon me, cricket. Yeah. So yeah, when I was in India, they said, "Oh, there's two major religions in India. The second one is Hinduism. The first one is football."
Cricket.
Cricket. Yeah, cricket. I did that mistake. I made this mistake twice. My brain's getting rattled here.
Your brain's getting rattled. Yeah. Because we're talking about football. Yeah, and some of the big stars, some of the stars, if they don't get to go, some of the Dutch stars could have their future careers curtailed. Right? Scoring a goal.
I don't know. They're still premium players. I don't think anything's going to happen in their career.
No,
they're still premium players. But what you're doing is you're taking some of the best players out of the loop.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes the goal you score at the World Cup, especially when you've gone through to the playoff stages, the meaningful goals that you score at the World Cup gets you a lucrative contract at Bayern Munich or Real Madrid or Liverpool or something like that.
Well, maybe. But I would say that the most important thing here is to get politics out of sports. These are people who have played the sport all their lives, and they're at the pinnacle of their careers, and politics is going to get in the way of this. And we have the entire world loves soccer, and you're going to remove that pleasure from people because of your foolish politics. Even if it's serious politics, why are you punishing athletes and why are you punishing fans? Fans come of every stripe. They are every political stripe. They are of every color stripe. They're every religious stripe. They all like to watch football.
Yep.
Why murky the waters with stupid politics?
And the world will be worse off without orange on the field.
Yes, orange is the color of the Netherlands.
Of the Dutch, yeah. Orange is the color of the Dutch team, and it will be worse off without the Dutch.
Yeah, it'd be camouflage for Trump. You won't be able to pick him out among those orange uniforms.
Yeah. All right. I think we've kind of come to the end of the day.
Yes. Without further ado, I bid you adieu, and I'll mention Gaza like I do every day. They have this board of peace. It sounds really, really weird. Carney was asked if he's going to put up $1 billion for a permanent seat on the board of peace. He says no. Any kind of money that Canada is going to put up for this is going to go directly to the need. It's not going to go through the board. They will put up money and they will see where it goes. So if they put up $1 million for a building to be built, they're going to give it to the building. They're not going to give it to Qatar to then sort of store it, and we don't know what happens to that money. They're going to be direct contributions.
Yep.
Which I was glad to hear.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So am I. All right. Okay.
Let's get those kids in Palestine back into school. Let's get them all fixed up. Let's get them medical attention. Let's get them food. Let's get their lives back on track. They've been traumatized for their entire lives. The country is over half children, and it's like 50% kids. 23,000 of them got killed. Another 100,000 will be maimed. Let's try to fix that and try to get some kind of life going for the children of Palestine. Let's get their moms and dads back in homes. Something. Let's do something. And this board of peace, if it can do something, all power to it. But let's get it done.
Yeah. All right.
Without further ado, I bid you adieu.